What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Ballion, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk about the New York Giants and what they've done in free agency, adding to their secondary like crazy. I talked about how they needed a corner, they needed a safety to pair with the young guys in Tyler Nubin and Drew Phillips, and they've done just that. I'll get into all of it on the other side of the intro. Hit it.
DiVincenzo at three. Bang! Bang!
At the wall, he jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career.
All right, getting into the episode, and I'm going to start with the defensive advancements that the Giants have made so far. So they've signed Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland to deepen their secondary after very promising rookie years from Tyler Nubin and Drew Phillips. Now they also have Deonte Banks, who was not very good last year, but in his rookie year, he also showed promise. Now, Holland and Adebo are both 25 years old. That might not seem like the best age, right? But there is a sky-high limit. There is a sky-high ceiling for this Giants defense. There is a super high ceiling for the Giants defense this season. And these two guys are going to be at the forefront of leading the secondary. We know the defensive line is going to be good with Brian Burns, with Dexter Lawrence, with Kayvon Thibodeau. The problem was last year, they couldn't do anything in the secondary because all the guys were too young. Now you bring in some guys who are entering the primes of their career. Adebo's got 10 career interceptions. He's one of the best man-to-man cornerbacks in the league. You bring in Javon Holland to show Tyler Nubin the ropes. Nubin was exceptional at stopping the run last year. I really like what Joe Schoen has done on the defensive side of the football. The problem, he has not done anything to improve the offense. The defense is going to be good. And I can almost guarantee you that unless people get injured. Unless players get injured, I think the Giants defense is going to be one of the best in the league. I think they're going to have so much talent. I think they're going to be able to use all their talent with, what's the defensive coordinator's name? I'm blanking on the defensive coordinator's name. With their defensive coordinator, it's like McClanahan or something like that. He showed some promise in the red zone last year. That's what he's really known for. It didn't matter. The Giants lost 10 games in a row. You couldn't really see what he had to display. But this year, he's got talent all over the field. And the Giants still have a draft to keep improving. That's the thing. Free agency is great. Trades are great. The Giants haven't made any, but I'm just saying trades are great. It's a good way that they could improve their team. But the draft is where teams get their big-time players. Patrick Mahomes drafted to the Chiefs. Josh Allen drafted to the Bills. Jalen Hurts drafted to the Eagles. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, the list goes on and on. And those are quarterbacks, but it's a similar thing for the defense unless you're the Eagles and after winning the Super Bowl, you decided to blow the whole team up, losing Darius Slay, Josh Sweat, and quite a few other guys. Trading C.J. Gardner-Johnson to the Texans. Their defense has not had a good offense, and Vic Fangio is going to have to rework something, I don't know, figure something out for the Eagles next year because that defense is going to look way different than we saw this year. The pass rush isn't going to be as good. They still got Jalen Carter, who's a beast on the inside, but they lost a ton of guys in free agency. But getting back to the Giants, like I said, they didn't do anything to improve their offense. But the defense is going to be really good. So here's the path for the Giants to really solidify this as a good offseason for Joe Schoen, on paper at least. We'll see if it portrays onto the field once the season starts, but that won't happen until September. You sign Amari Cooper. You need a big-time wide receiver to pair with Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors was very good his rookie year. Same with Tyrone Tracy. You have two young guys as your star wide receiver and running back, and then you bring in Amari Cooper. Maybe he is the top receiver, but maybe Malik Neighbors is also the top receiver. It's going to be kind of a 1A, 1B situation. But at least you have a proven guy in case Malik Neighbors takes a step back next year that showed he could do it with the Bills, that showed he could do it with the Browns, Amari Cooper, that showed he could do it with the Cowboys. Amari Cooper is a proven wide receiver in the NFL. He is one of the best in the sport and the best available option. That's a free agent. You have some cap space to work with, so I'm not too worried about that. I think they have maybe $46 million, somewhere around there. And I think that would be plenty to sign Amari Cooper. Next, you sign Russell Wilson. I think he's going to be the best option. I think he's going to be willing to take a mentorship role, a bridge quarterback role. One of the guys, he's not going to want to come here on he's not going to need a huge contract. Obviously, he's going to want one, but the reality is he's not getting one. Even though the quarterback market has been slimmed down so much. Russell Wilson's going to be the best guy for the Giants just because he seems like a good guy for the locker room, a good guy to mentor the young quarterback that the Giants eventually will bring in via the draft. And he just seems like the right option. And then the last step to really solidify this offseason is drafting Jackson Dart. I have been singing Dart's praises for the entirety of this offseason. I think he's going to come to the Giants, the next Ole Miss quarterback in line, and be the best quarterback out of this draft. I think he's going to be that guy. He's going to be a killer. He's going to be one of these guys where we see him in a couple years. He might not be great his first year. He might not be great his second year. But once you get to the third, fourth, fifth years, I think Dart is going to be a really capable and a really good quarterback under Brian Daboll's instruction and under this Giants coaching staff, leadership, their development. Jackson Dart is the guy for the Giants. Then your offense includes Jackson Dart, Amari Cooper, Malik Neighbors, Tyrone Tracy, Wan'Dale Robinson. That's 5 guys that I think could be key contributors to a team that wins 8 or 9 games, maybe makes the playoffs as the last wild card. I think they could be competitive, especially when your defense consists of Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, Drew Phillips, Tyler Nubin, Paulson Adebo, Javon Holland, who has been a really good safety and an exceptional safety for the Miami Dolphins over the past season. The Giants are trending in the right direction if they can solidify this offseason by either drafting or signing a wide receiver that ends up being good and drafting the right quarterback. Now, those are 2 difficult steps. The quarterback more so. I think wide receiver, the easy option is just to sign Amari Cooper. He's the proven guy on this market. I mean, Chris Godwin's off the market. Stephon Diggs is out there. I think he's going to be a problem, though. And he hasn't been that good since a couple years back. He was all right, but he hasn't been as good as he once was. Amari Cooper had one of the best stretches of his career once he was traded to Buffalo last season. Now, I'm not there. I don't think he's going to replicate that immediately once he comes to the Giants. But you get the point. Amari Cooper has been doing this for a long time in the NFL. Malik Neighbors has not. Malik Neighbors, I believe, will continue to do it. But you just take out an insurance policy. He'll be a leader for Neighbors. That's the other thing with Stephon Diggs. He's not a leader. He's not a mentor. He's not one of these guys that's going to come in, take Neighbors under his wing, maybe take another rookie receiver under his wing, and just do the stuff that he should be necessary for the Giants to win. He seems like a jerk in the locker room, not a good teammate. Where Amari Cooper, I think he's a good guy, and that's where I'm at coming from with Russell Wilson. I think he's a good guy. He's been around the block. He's won a Super Bowl with the Seahawks. He seems like the right fit for the Giants, and more importantly, I want to stay as far away from Aaron Rodgers as possible. The Jets are taking a $49 million dead hit from him this season, and we're going to keep him in New York. You had a front row seat of how bad he was for the Jets and how much of a headache he was for the Jets the past 2 seasons. I mean, they play in your building. You do not want that in your franchise. You do not want that guy at the stage of his career he's in your locker room, playing with your young guys and influencing them, because this is the team This is the core that the Giants think can get them back to the playoffs and get them back to contention. I think that Joe Schoen has gone all out and he's done everything he possibly can so far. I mean, free agency really only started today, but the legal tampering period started a couple days back. I think not Wednesday, I think Monday maybe. I mentioned it before. He's got to get a receiver and he's got to get a quarterback. The quarterback is the most important part. If you cannot get your quarterback, whether it's via free agency and you want to bring Aaron Rodgers in to play for you, if you don't want to bring him in to be a bridge guy and you want to bring him in to be your starting quarterback for the whole year, I mean, I don't get with it. I can't get with it. But if that's what Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll want to do, that's what they're going to do. But they will also run the risk of being fired after this season, which makes me believe that they're going to draft a quarterback and they're going to look to the future. But the quarterback is the main key in the cog. He's the guy that starts everything. The coach changes the culture. The quarterback takes the team to the next level. The Giants right now, I think they're going to be probably at 6 or 7 wins with their current quarterback situation, just because I know they're going to draft a quarterback. I don't know if it's going to be a Kyle McCord, Dylan Gabriel level quarterback, or they're going to try to splurge, maybe trade up for Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders. Maybe one of them falls, or maybe they stand pat at 3rd overall and draft Jackson Dart. And maybe they get Jackson Dart in the 2nd round, although I do think he is climbing up draft boards. This was the one thing I was worried about back in January, back in February. I knew Jackson Dart was going to be the guy this year that shot up the boards once the combine hit. I don't think he's had his pro day yet, but we're about a month away from the draft. I think it's in about a month. The Giants have to have a plan going in. They have to know what they're going to do. They have to target the quarterback, and they need their veteran quarterback to be on the roster before the draft. Before they head to Pittsburgh, I believe, for the draft. Oh, no, it's either Pittsburgh or Detroit. I think it's Detroit. Before they head to Detroit for the draft, they need to have a veteran quarterback, either Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, on their roster. Plain and simple. There's nothing else that has to happen. If they just sign the quarterback and draft a quarterback and they don't get a wide receiver, I'm fine. I would love to get a veteran wide receiver to pair with Malik Neighbors, just because Neighbors is that 2nd-year player. He might have a sophomore slump like we saw with Tay Banks. The Giants, though, from where they were just a couple months back, beating the Colts at home to sell their 1st overall pick, to dropping to 3rd and cutting Daniel Jones, dealing with everything they went through this season, to where they are now, their roster on paper looks 1,000 times better. They look like they are finally trending in the right direction. I still believe they have the right front office. They have the right GM. They have the right head coach. They might have the right coordinators. I'm not sold on either coordinator yet, but they are trending in the right direction. I think they're going to win some games this year. I don't think it can possibly be as bad as last year unless injuries interfere, and God knows, injuries are terrible, and especially in the NFL. I mean, just 2 years back, we saw Joe Flacco coming off the bench for the Browns and taking them to the playoffs. That was the year of the backup quarterback. Tyler Huntley for the Ravens a couple years back brought the Ravens to the playoffs. There are always injuries in the NFL and always injuries to key players. So the Giants just have to hope that their guys are healthy, and that's with any teams. That's it. That anybody has to hope that their players stay healthy. That's not a given for any team. But the Giants don't have a ton of depth on the offensive side of the ball. I think the defensive side is pretty solid. I mean, I don't know how much more I would change. Maybe I would draft another corner. Maybe I would draft another lineman. I don't know. I don't know if they really need to touch the defense, though. If they come out of the draft not getting a single defensive player and focusing solely on the offense, I will be so happy. I will be ecstatic as a Giants fan if they draft 2 wide receivers, a quarterback, a tight end to replace Isaiah Hodgins. That's 4 picks right there. I don't care if it's like a 6th round tight end that we haven't heard of from, I don't know, Bowling Green or Fresno State. I don't care if it's one of those guys. Maybe they could develop him into something. I would rather them take a chance on an offensive guy than a defensive guy, though, because we know that the defense is solid. We know that their defense on paper is among the best of the league. I mean, I was online today and some people were saying the Giants defense could be top 10 in the entire National Football League. That is hyping me up. Now it's just time to lock in on the offense, get the offense in order, and go from there. The Giants are nowhere near done. They are nowhere near a championship contender. But things could be heading in the right direction for Big Blue. And Joe Schoen has been at the helm of it this offseason. He has had a great free agency period to start. I need him to continue it for the next month, maybe make a trade, and then get it going in the draft. Draft your quarterback. Let Brian Dable work with him, develop him for the next 2 to 3 years, and we'll see where we're at. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing, following, liking, sharing it with a friend. I really appreciate it. Make sure you go check out all my socials. All of them are linked in the description below. I've been making a lot of content, posting about 2 videos a day on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Shorts. Make sure you go follow them all. Really appreciate that as well. Last thing, make sure you leave me a voicemail with your sports questions and takes at 848-305-8073. That's 848-305-8073. All right, make sure you keep it locked with the Sports Pod.